Welcome back. This is a special edition of the podcast, I guess you could say. We do have some breaking news, but I'm the Stress Master.
And I'm Kane, and I'd like to say that I'm happy to be here with you about this one, but unfortunately, I'm anything but. For those who haven't heard the news, the Mandarins have chosen to take I believe the words they're using is a strategic hiatus for the 2026 season.
Yeah.
So the Mandarins will not be fielding a drum corps in 2026, and we're here to talk about it.
Yeah, we're here to talk about it. So let me pull up the announcement so you guys can see it. So this is the strategic hiatus that you mentioned right here on the screen. So basically, from what I'm taking from this is that I think it's a money thing because they say a lot of things in here that kind of key me off to that. One is like, they're talking about thoughtful growth, continued pursuit of excellence. And then later on down I'm going to let you guys read it if you want to read it, but we're not going to read it word for word.
Yeah, if you want to read it, pause the screen.
But basically, they just kind of talk about like economic conditions affecting the performing arts nationwide, which is true. It's still happening. It's not any better. So it's been a struggle for everybody.
I think. Well, first off, if through the magic of future Justin editing, if you go back to the emergency podcast we did after Vanguard announced their decision to take the year off, I said, paraphrasing here, if you want, Justin, you can find the bit and edit it in. I did say though that I think this was going to be the new normal. I think that it's going to be not unusual that top level drum corps take a year off. Vanguard did it. Now Mandarins. There's been some lower level corps that have also taken a year off since then as well, and it's just the economic reality of where we are. I saw a quote on one of the Facebook groups. I can't remember which one it was. Strangely enough, it wasn't Drum Corps Planet where the sky is always falling. But I saw somebody said, "Have they not been watching their pennies?" And of course they've been watching their pennies. They watch their pennies every single minute of every single day. But there comes a time where you just simply don't have enough pennies. The simple fact is that we're in a situation where now I'm lucky. I live in the UK, so I'm somewhat shielded from it. But I know that the economic situation in America could best be described as tepid. And the thing is that how the American financial situation goes, so does the rest of the world. When America catches a cold, when America sneezes, the whole world catches a cold.
Exactly.
But the simple fact is there comes a point where you have to look at things. And not only that, I don't want to bring the P word up on this channel, but I'm going to very briefly. The political situation in America is right on a knife edge. The economy could go one of two ways overnight. And if you're a drum and bugle corps, not just the Mandarins, okay? If you are a drum and bugle corps, you are sailing close to the wind financially every single year. I don't care if you're the biggest organizations like the Blue Devils, the Blue Coats, or whatever, or if you're a sound sport team. At the end of the day, if you're running a drum corps, it is the type of organization that spends every penny that comes in, if not more. And you're always going to be on that knife edge financially. So I don't know much about Kathleen Davis, but I do know Dan Fong, I believe, is the other signatory on this letter.
Yeah.
Dan Fong's been around Mandarins since you and I were around the freelancers. The guy knows. He knows the activity. This isn't his first rodeo. J.W. Kester, J.W. Kester's a friend of the show. I can only imagine what he must be feeling like today.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, and when it happened to SCV, I think you did say it, and I agreed that it's going to happen to some other corps. And other little corps here and there have taken a season off or whatever and reformed and kind of rejuvenated. It's harder in California than any other state to run a drum corps. It's more expensive. It takes us longer to get to a place where they can compete after they leave California. It takes like Salt Lake City is the closest place, and that's 14 hours away.
Yeah.
And that is literally the closest.
I mean, California Corps instantly have a tour length that's probably, I mean, back when you and I were marching, it was probably 20% longer than everybody else, just in sheer miles, and miles equal dollars. And that was when there was a lot more shows. There's a lot less shows now. So I would argue that the California Corps probably have, and those less shows tend to be quite, relatively speaking, centrally located. It's not as big of a deal, say, for Madison Scouts to get to a show in Ohio as it is the Blue Devils.
Yeah, true.
So, so the point being is that 20% from back in our day, I'd be interested to see. In fact, I'm going to go away and do a bit of research on it, but I'll bet it's probably pushing 40%. Which means that straight away they're in a hole financially compared to everybody else. They just have to get to the competition. Not only that, California schools, I believe, let out a little bit later. In addition to that, just doing everything in California is more expensive. And let's not forget as well, a few years back, I can't remember exactly what year it was. I want to say it was around 22. Mandarins bought a building, and real estate in California ain't cheap either.
Yeah, it was millions.
So when you taught up, we bought a building, we got good all of a sudden, which means that the demand on the Corps is that much more. When a Corps gets good, not only the demand for them to be appearing at shows, but their members are going to have a certain level of expectation as far as excellence as well. Success begets success, but success can also be very expensive.
Because you're hiring more staff, more qualified staff. It costs more money.
Better designers,
uniforms, instruments,
designers, staging. Yeah, the whole lot.
And I don't begrudge. I don't begrudge anybody for, having the wherewithal to kind of go, wait a second, we need to stop. We need to stop what we're doing. We need to reevaluate and see if we can get this ship righted. They're still doing their Immortal Winds, which is their winter program.
Yep.
Which is good because they're going to keep brass and all that going and all that's great.
They've kept the most expensive part of the organization off the road for the year.
Yeah, millions of dollars in revenue. I mean, revenue that they have to generate to produce that thing. So maybe it's probably going to make them stronger. I mean, and honestly, the climate has changed in California quite a bit. I mean, people are spending less on things. So they have a bingo game. They've had a bingo game for 40, 50 years, something like that. And they have a very loyal following to their bingo game. But even that's going to probably take a little bit of a dip because people don't have as much money to spend, and then therefore it doesn't generate the income into the organization. So
I mean, like, I'm going back to what I was talking about politics, and I'm not going to make this a political commentary, but you cannot not talk about the current situation, just as far as current events. Millions of people have lost their SNAP benefits. Millions of people have lost their healthcare, or their healthcare has suddenly become a lot more expensive. And if I'm a bingo player, for instance, and my healthcare is doubled in price, well, guess what? Was that your cat, by the way?
That was my cat. That's like I was looking. He's right
there. I just saw this weird floating cat head there, and that was like, wow.
Yeah,
and you must keep this. You don't edit this bit out, by the way.
It's my cat Finn. My sign.
But yeah, if you're, let's just say for argument's sake, you're a bingo player, and suddenly your healthcare is just doubled in price. Well, guess what? You're probably going to stop playing bingo. And maybe that hasn't happened yet. Thank you for changing the screen, because I was getting really tired of seeing my background flicker.
Yeah.
It only seems to flicker when we go into split window like that. But I mean, maybe that hasn't happened yet. So maybe when we're talking about a strategic pause, maybe they're expecting it to happen. And I've heard some numbers, and I'm not going to talk about them here, but Suffice it to say, Mandarins are operating at a pretty significant debt, as are a lot of top drum corps, And I'm not even going to speculate what numbers might be. I've no doubt that the Sacramento Mandarins as an organization have the right people in place to right that ship financially. I know they want to come back on the field in 2027. I hope they come back on the field in 2027. But I'm going to do a giant but here. If they're not ready, I don't want to see them in 2027. I'd rather they take 2 years off and get their shit together before coming out and trying it again. You know what? That's just my take. And I know JW will be chomping at the bit. I also know that the board will probably be putting him on a bit of a leash. It's if I could just say it bluntly, it's a shit situation all the way around. It really is. But it's a situation that's probably necessary. And truth be told, I'd be surprised if it's the last one this year.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think this is going to affect another course somewhere else. It's just too, especially after November. Once November kicks in, and then benefits get lost from many people, millions of people across the country, it's going to really start affecting fundraising and things like that. And I think it's just really going to. And like I said, we're not a political show, but political things are affecting real things, and that's kind of what's happening, and it's going to keep happening.
Yeah, and not only is it going to affect the corps, it's going to affect the members as well. If a member suddenly can't afford to march because they've got to deal with real life, well, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, other than it's just, everybody's got to keep on keeping on. I know that we talked at the end of the season that something's going to have to change more dramatically than what did this year in terms of they did lower the amount of shows, but it doesn't lower the amount of time that
it doesn't lower the travel either.
And we saw Blue Devils took off 16 days during tour.
Yeah.
16 or something like that. A lot of days off. But you're still feeding, traveling, staff, housing. You're still paying all those things, housing. So we're either going to have to do one of two things, in my opinion. We're going to have to truncate the season and make it shorter.
I don't think you can truncate it much more.
Well, what I mean in terms of that is even they start rehearsing now. People already had auditions in October. It used to start in November. Now it's in October. So they're going a month early just to get members. And they're going to Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Japan, all these different places to get members, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But I think either they need to bring the season in, instead of being in August, ended in July, so that people, but it's just a whole logistics thing, because.
Or is it a case of maybe doing say, for instance, in professional sports, you can't have mini camp until, you can't have organized team activities until such and such a date.
I don't think that's ever going to happen, because
it's never going to happen. Look, I'll tell you what the quick fix is. And this is Dr. Kanan's quick fix for how to fix DCI right now. And guess what? I'm going to tell you something that is so blatantly obvious. Lots of people are already talking about it. And that is the entire DCI touring model needs to be chucked in the bin. It's no longer relevant for today's world. And I'm going to sound like an old fuddy-duddy dinosaur, and I don't care. Regional needs to be coming back. Tours need to be regionally focused. You look back at our day. I hate to be the guy who's back in my day, but you look back at our day, Justin, a full half of our summer season, we never left California, Arizona, or Washington or Oregon.
Yeah, we didn't leave until July something,
July 5th, 6th, something like that.
Yeah, and then we only had 4 weeks on tour, I think.
Yeah,
at that point.
Yeah, and also, when you look at that tour, we weren't jumping all over the damn place as well. We were either south or north. That was it. We either did a southern tour or a northern tour, you know?
Yep. And there was a lot of shows. We did 40. One year we did 42 shows.
Yeah, it was mad. That was mad. We're never going to get that, but we can do a regional touring model. And you know what? The regional touring model had a lot of advantages outside of just trying to save a bit of money. You know, there was a lot more drum corps there as well, because there was a lot more opportunity for local small corps to be able to have a reasonable amount of touring. You know, you think back in the West, we had the likes of Arizona. It was Arizona Sun, the Musketeers.
Yeah.
There was so many A 60 corps down in LA. Impulse was quite a big deal back then. As was, you had like you had things like the Black Knights and Spirit of Sunnyvale. Now they were a youth band, but they did the tour up in the Northwest, outside of the Seattle Cascades. You had remember the Argonauts were up there.
Yeah, Oregon Crusaders,
so on and so forth. And the point being is that they could offer an experience, you know, that was worthwhile to say we're just doing first tour, you know. I think something like that needs to happen again, because the simple fact is that if we keep asking drum corps to go out and, you know, do 20,000 miles of touring, however long it is, you know, and just keep spending money hand over fist, in 5 years, we're not going to have an activity to talk about. The Marching Arts podcast or the Marching Arts channel, the Marching Arts Network channel, will become a channel where we talk about what we used to have.
Yeah. Well, I hope that's not the case. I mean, I think the Midwest corps are going to be more successful because, like, the touring model there is much easier in terms of distance.
The touring model there is basically already regional.
Yeah. I mean, it still costs money. Don't get me wrong. It still costs money to travel and all that fun stuff. But it's the California corps have always struggled in terms of the amount of money. Even when we marched, I mean, this is back in the 90s. We were spending millions of dollars in the 90s.
Yeah. And look, it's not just California corps. It's California corps. It's Southern corps have it pretty bad. You know, your Texas corps, your Spirit of Atlantas, and so on and so forth. You know, they see a lot of the same struggle of the California corps. Maybe not to as much of a degree, but it's certainly there. I'd even say nowadays your Northeast corps have the same problem because there aren't as many Northeast shows. Used to be in the Northeast, man. There was a show there. Northeast, there'd be 3 shows a night somewhere.
Yeah,
you know, you know, we'd get Drum Corps World and look at the shows and be like, you know, you'd have like Pittsfield, Massachusetts, Piscataway, whatever, and all on the same night. And each show would have at least 5 to 7 corps in it, you know?
Yeah. That's back in the days when we had 200 corps. Now we have,
but corps, but the point being is there were so many damn shows. Corps could just go, no, we're not doing that one.
Yeah.
Corps can't do that now, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, how can I say this? I'm going to try to frame this the right way. I'm going to try to frame this the right way. I have high hopes for drum corps because I love drum corps, but I do not have high hopes for the current model. I think it was in the right step last year to kind of allow corps to reduce the amount of shows they attended. I think that was a great step. But I agree with you. We need to go back to a regional model where we used to have the regional here in California at Stanford. That used to be a regional. It still kind of is. I mean, they don't really say it is, but I mean, we get like, you know, we always get a corps from back east. This year we're getting, who are we getting this year? Blue Coats.
Blue Coats. Let me ask you this. How many shows were there in Northern California last year?
Stanford, Sacramento show, and that was it. And then Southern California, there was like 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah. So to give you an example, going back when we were talking about like the way that, you know, the regional touring model used to work, you know, we'd go down to LA, and in LA we do a show in Riverside, in Costa Mesa, in
oh yeah, they still have the RCC show. They still have that show down there.
Yeah, but I'm saying in like a week and a half down in LA, we do Riverside, Costa Mesa, Anaheim, maybe down to San Diego,
Chino,
Riverside. I don't know if I said Riverside or not already.
Fresno, maybe.
Yeah, and then we'd make our way back up to a show in Clovis, Stockton, Sacramento, Concord, Santa Clara,
and then we'd pop up into Washington.
Yeah, we'd pop up into Washington. We'd stop off on like Klamath Falls, Oregon, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle. The point being is that we'd have, before we hit Ogden, Utah, we'd have 15 to 20 performances under our belt.
Yeah.
And I never, and we never toured nationally as much.
Ooh, hold on one second. This just popped up.
What's this?
It's basically telling me I have 10 minutes. That's fine. We're good.
We never had, I don't think we ever toured as extensively nationally as much, but I never felt that I've been shorted.
No, in fact, I thought it was too many shows. I was like tired.
Yeah, exactly.
I was freaking tired by the time we got to finals, man.
Absolutely.
I was dying.
You know what? I do think it showed though. In you look at the finals performances back then, a lot of the cores were tired.
I mean, I don't dislike the current amount of shows. I just think there's some cores that are using it to their advantage, but I think there needs to be a way to even the playing field a little bit and make sure that it's equal to all. And I don't know. I think regionals is a great way to approach it. California really has a pretty robust schedule. I mean, there's a lot of cores in the state right now. There's like 5 down in Southern California. We had 3. We have 2. We still have 3, and then plus, you had Blue Devils B, Santa Clara Vanguard Cadets, Gold, Impulse. There's another
Seattle
core
Cascades.
down there. Seattle Cascades. We used to have the Oregon,
Colombians.
The Colombians. Yeah, they're still there. So I mean, there's quite a bit on the West Coast. It's just I think there needs to be some investment in more shows, like what you said, and I think the people would come. Especially if you have the bigger cores there, right? If you have Blue Devils there, people are going to go. If you have Santa Clara there, people are going to go. If you just have all small cores, they're not really going to be as inclined to go because people they like what they like, and smaller cores are great, but it's like, that's the draw. Those are the draw cores, even Mandarins was a draw core.
What I'd say is this, bringing it back to Mandarins. Mandarins are taking the year off. When they come back, this is my plea, if you will, to current marching members. If you thought about marching Mandarins now, and the opportunity comes, let's say it's next year, 2027, and that thought still crosses your mind, don't let the fact they took 2026, don't take that off to deter you. It didn't deter members from Santa Clara. The same people that have been running a very successful organization at Mandarins are still there. Will they lose some staff? Absolutely, they're going to lose some staff. There's no question about it. But they'll get new ones. You don't hear kids coming out of a Mandarin tour with horror stories or anything like that. So, like I said, when they come back, I hope that the talent pool remembers that they're still a great drum corps. They will continue to be a great drum corps.
They're a very good.
And you know what? The other side of the coin as well. Let's be honest. Mandarins not being there this year does open some possibilities in finals for some corps that have been just so close for the last few years. So, one corps' loss is another's gain, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see as we get closer and closer to the season.
But we know we're going to have at least one new finalist.
Yeah, there we go. So tell us your guys' thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear them as always. And thank you guys so much for everything that you have done for us in terms of this channel. And please make sure that you subscribe if you have not done so. Then now would be a great time. We are going to keep some stuff coming as the winter season progresses as well.
And if I may, this is the point as well where we usually tell you that, hey, we've got a subscription. If you were thinking about subscribing to us, save your money, give it to Mandarins.
Okay, well, I'll take that.
Save your money, give it to Mandarins or your favorite local drum corps.
Sounds good to me. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next one. Until then, you know what to do.
I'm not going to, this isn't a happy podcast, so I'm not going to do my normal outro. So just make sure that you march on.
Thank you guys.